What is up, wrestling fans? It's that time of the week for the FLZ Wrestling Team to talk all things pro wrestling and call it right down the middle. That's right, it's time for 607 TWS, the wrestling show. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, coming to you from the ODPH dungeon, the realest thing in all of pro wrestling. It's been a long time since I did that.
It's been a while, yes.
A long time since I did that one, huh? All right, of course, I am your host. My name is Rich, and I'm joined here by my esteemed colleagues. First, you know her as the First Lady of FLZ, but more importantly, she is the hunter of the Pokemans because she's got to catch them all. She's also the guru of cosplay. But for this show, the most important part of it is she is a connoisseur of all things pro grappling. It is Miss Sammy. How are you this week, Miss Sammy?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Amazing. And speaking of amazing, back in the saddle again, joining us for the second week in a row, and now me and him are in the same place, is the editor-in-chief of FanlightZone.com, the one and only Ken M.
Fanlight Zone Nation. Fanlight Zone Society, whatever we're calling the fan base, we are here to talk some pro wrestling. So if you're talking some AEW, you're talking some WWE, you're talking some GCW, or if you're talking some indies, you need to get in the chat, super chat, make it happen. This is 607 TWS. Let's go.
I just want to also, I want to point out that it's the rumors that Ken M is here because I said something to get myself in trouble is false.
Yes.
Because I think that's what people think, is that I have to have somebody babysitting me, but no, not quite. I haven't said anything that egregious yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Give me some time. Give me some time tonight. But with that, before we dive in, I will implore you to go over to the place that powers all of this. And that, of course, is FanlightZone.com. There you can check out the best comic review team in the business. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on the team. I'm saying that because, oh boy, we do quite a few comic reviews, plus every other thing coming, and there's more growing as we continue to grow FanlightZone.com. Also, make sure you follow us on all those wonderful social medias, especially if you are watching us on the X or the Twitch stream. Make sure you follow us there as well. But if you're already on the YouTube, you've got part of it done. If not, come go over to the YouTube. I said come to YouTube. Go over to the YouTube after the show is over and make sure you smash that subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications, and hit that thumbs up to help us beat the algorithm over at the Fanlight Zone YouTube channel. With that being said, we have a lot to talk about in the world of pro grappling this week.
Yes, we do.
Lots of stuff. And by dare I say, some salacious stuff. Oh, it's different. It's a different week. But let's start off with the thing that went down this past Saturday from the Kudos Arena in good old Sydney, Australia. That's right. AEW Grand Slam Australia went down this past weekend. I'm going to do a complete rundown of the card, and then we're going to give our thoughts. We're not going to go match by match. Because trust me, we're going to touch on most of them, but we'll do the complete rundown first. So first up in the opening contest, we had the AEW Continental Championship on the line as your champion, Jon Moxley, would defend against Konosuke Takeshita. This match got 20 minutes and would end in a time limit draw, and I know Ken M will be talking about that in a second. Next up, the AEW Women's World Tag Team Championships were on the line. Your champions, the Babes of Wrath, Australia's own Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale. Of course, you're also your TBS champion, taking on Mega Bad. That's right, the Megasis Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. This match got 11 minutes and 4 seconds. At the end of the day, your winners and still the AEW Women's World Tag Team Champions, the Babes of Wrath. Next up, the winner would receive an AEW World Championship match at Revolution. This match got 16 minutes and 29 seconds. Your winner, Hangman Adam Page, as he defeated Andrade El Idolo to become the #1 contender for the AEW World Championship. Then we had a mixed tornado tag team hair versus hair match where we had the team of Timeless Tony Storm and our favorite, Orange Cassidy, taking on the Death Riders, Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir, 11 minutes and 27 seconds. And guess what? Wheeler Yuta ball, baby. We'll go back to that as well. Next up, the AEW TNT Championship on the line. Your champion, the Protostar in Australia's own Kyle Fletcher, as I call him, aka the man with no aura, taking on Mark Briscoe. This match got 16 minutes and 2 seconds. At the end of the day, your winner and still AEW TNT champion, Kyle Fletcher. And then the main event of the evening for the AEW World Championship, we had your champion, the salt of the earth. He's better than you, and you know it. Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF, taking on Big Bad Brody King. This match got 21 minutes, 37 seconds. And at the end of the day, and still your AEW World Champion, MJF. So, a lot of places I can start here. I know some people thought this show was really good in chat. If you did, that's fine. Like I said, everybody's up to their own opinions. But, oh boy. What do I want to take Umbridge with first? You know what? I'll let Ken kick us off because I'm sure he wants to talk all about this 5-minute draw.
Why? Why did we have a time limit draw to open the show? The crowd is hot. Everybody was expecting something to really get the crowd excited, carry that momentum through. A time limit draw to open a show like this was a bad call. I'm sorry. To take the crowd out of it, because it's deflating when you open a show like that. It made no sense.
Great match other than that.
It was a great match other than that. I'm not complaining about the match itself, but if you're going to do that, you can't have it end like that. And I know that, unfortunately, AEW has done that in the past. But in my opinion, that was a bad call because I think that really took the crowd out for a little bit.
I agree with you. I also think that they're going to probably obviously run it back at Revolution. Let's be honest. We're on Revolution. I do believe Continental Championship matches get an hour time limit.
I think so. It's something there.
It's a lot longer than 20 minutes they get on TV, which I'm a fan of the TV title rules. They should have just called it the AEW Television Championship. Let's be honest. Like I would have preferred that because then the rules are built in because I had to be reminded watching the show that it's a 20-minute time limit when it's not on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Like if you called it the TV title, we would all know that's been the gimmick for television titles forever.
Oh yeah.
It's actually usually less. It was 10 minutes, but now in the year 2026, 20 minutes is the new 10 minutes.
Sure.
Right? We don't get always squash matches. We'll come back to that in a second. I know Sammy will want to talk about some of the women's division here, but listen, not a bad tag team match. I said it before on the preview show of this, that the AEW women's tag team division, really damn good. Okay. But there's some puzzling things that happened after this. First and namely, right after this match, we have the debut of a new star. Why would you debut and help out the heels after the match? Like, that makes no sense. If you're going to debut like that, you have to help the heels win the match, not show up after the fall is already over. Like, oh man, I was late for my cue. Like, that looks really weird. And then even more egregious than that, on a house show, the very next day, the Iconics, the Inspiration, whatever you would like to call them, have now become All Elite Wrestling bound. They are contracted to All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you just, if you were going to sign them, just hear me out, put the Babes of Wrath in a tag team match against a surprise tag team and get the home country pop for the Iconics?
Or even at worst, have them make the save.
Something. Sammy, what were your thoughts on the women's tag team title match and all of that as a whole?
Some solid wrestling there, but it's just AEW bad behavior, just kind of creeping into a really good run of strong AEW shows, strong AEW matches and television and storylines, but just that bad behavior just continues to creep in, and it at times it really does hold back the product. And I can understand why people have not fully jumped back in on the AEW bandwagon because of just, dummy things like this, because that's what they are. They're dummy. I get the 20-minute, the time limit draw. There's only so many ways you can end a match, and we've seen them all. So you have to do those type of things every once in a while, but this wasn't the place for that. And this is just, yeah. And this is just another example here where it's like, remember when Jamie Hayter came back? I mean, it's just these little dummy things that just don't add up.
I agree. I completely agree. The next two matches on the card, because I'm just going to skip over them because they were both fine. I mean, they were predictable. Hangman Adam Page beating Andrea Del Idolo, but a great match. We all assumed that.
Yes.
Very predictable. And then, of course, Orange Cassidy and Timeless Tony Storm defeating the Death Riders and Wheeler Yuta getting his head shaved. That was a lot of fun at the end.
The only thing, though, I thought was kind of odd was Moxley forcing Wheeler to go.
But I don't think it is, because Moxley has turned this weird new page. And if it's an evolution of the Death Riders, if they continue it, excuse me, I enjoy it because he's making him stick to it being a man of his word. Because if you think about the original Blackpool Combat Club style was being a man of your word. It was being, all that is pro wrestling. They got away from that in the Death Riders, and I think that John Moxley's trying to house them back, which could lead to Obviously, that group disbanding with John Moxley becoming one of your biggest faces again, which is a possibility. So I'm not too offended by that because it kind of makes sense in the realm of what he does.
It just felt like out of nowhere, though. That's the only thing I didn't like that.
True. Sammy, you got anything to say about those two matches? Like I said, I thought both of them were good and they were entertaining but predictable.
Nope. This helped kind of turn around the show a little bit and keep you engaged in it.
Agreed. Then we got the AEW TNT Championship match, the ladder match. Listen, I know I call Kyle Fletcher the man with no aura, and the people get on me about it, and it has nothing to do with his in-ring talent because once again, this match shows that he's got plenty of in-ring talent. It's just his character gimmick is like watching paint dry. They might as well go to the back. Remember that one time Jeff Hardy was watching paint dry?
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm feeling. And then we have him versus Mark Briscoe, and I love Mark Briscoe. He's always going to hold a special place in my heart for my time working in the wrestling business. However, I didn't need to see these two gentlemen fight 7 times. This is the 7th time. And you had the perfect opportunity just to have Tommaso Ciampa versus Kyle Fletcher for the TNT title. Now, granted, there could have been some issues because the show was planned. Ciampa just came over. Maybe he couldn't get a visa, et cetera, et cetera. That's a possibility.
There's a lot of different possibilities.
But in that case, it would have been bigger if Kyle Fletcher wins the belt in Australia as opposed to defending it. Once again, some super indie stuff happens in this match, which I'm kind of over super indie, which I'll table that. But the most egregious thing that happened in this match is that you are in Australia. Kyle Fletcher is the Australian hero here, right? Why is it on a tape broadcast? Because it was taped earlier. The live event happened at 8 p.m. Eastern time, Australian Eastern time. So that's 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the States. So then they air in Collision at 8 p.m. So it's a tape show. You could edit, right? Why would you cut off the part where we unveil the pink TNT Championship?
Yeah, in
his hometown? That's a problem. Once again, those little things that may speak to that. I know you'll want to speak to that. Those are those little things that's the kind of pop that you want to hear. Am I wrong?
No, you're right on the money. It's just a continuation of just like bad behavior, bad practices. And again, AEW, we have to remind ourselves that, WWE is top notch when it comes to production value, but even they get things wrong from time to time as well. And AEW is a smaller company. And maybe their entire staff was literally all over in Australia and there wasn't anyone that was able to do that kind of stuff. Maybe they just don't care. They don't think about it. I mean, any number of reasons, but when you have WWE being such a gold standard, when you have companies like the NFL being such a gold standard of how to promote yourselves and to promote, your practice, your craft and everything, you have to look at that and you have to take some of that to heart and be like, we have to do some of that here. Doesn't need to be perfect. We don't want it to be perfect, but you got to be better than this.
No, I agree with you. And I think my if disappointment's coming across in my voice, I think it's because we have both, myself and you, Sammy, and I mean, Ken had said it last week, but he hasn't been here. We have been saying now for a few months that AEW had a really strong end of 2025 and has really started 2026 out strong. And I'm not saying this is derailing them. We're going to talk about a highlight.
No, not at all.
But I'm saying that we thought we were past these things. And I think the disappointment for me comes from the fact that it's like a dog to vomit. They go back to some of the things that are things that drive people nuts, whether it's time limit finishes, whether it's these weird production faux pas, like not getting the pop on camera. I know it went on socials, but get the pop on camera for the Australian hero guy, right? You know what I mean? He's a heel everywhere else, but there he's a face. The whole point of making a pink belt for him was for the crowd to pop. Right?
Yeah.
The same thing could be said about like not doing the full Wheeler Yuta head shave. And mind you, you could shave some time elsewhere, right? Or even like part of the shave time is debuting a new star in your women's division after the logical point of debuting that star, right? And then not even debuting the bigger names that are known from being in the business for longer, and except for on a house show. And we're going into the main event. And when I said shave time, 21 minutes and 37 seconds is your main event. And if I'm not mistaken, 2 weeks earlier on Dynamite, what was the time of that match roughly?
What, 2 minutes?
Less. It was less than 2 minutes. It was a squash.
Yeah.
And now we fast forward to the big event, and I get it. You're not going to do a squash there, right? But we get to the big event, and it's like the same exact moveset that defeated MJF in a squash. He kicks out at 2.
Yeah.
The match goes on unreasonably long for no reason. And once again, proving that you don't know how to book a big man. And I'm not saying anything against Brody King. I thought he had a good showing, but why is Brody King in a almost 22-minute long match with a guy half his size? He should have been dominating the match. MJF should have taken the knee out, and we should have worked that angle, made it a lot shorter. Just my opinion. And then we could have gotten all the other stuff that was the good stuff on TV. Just my opinion. And I love Brody King, and I love MJF. So it's not like I'm coming from a spot where I hate either of the men. Your thoughts? Am I wrong?
I mean, I thought this should have been booked differently. I think that I agree with you. The storytelling about this between King and MJF just was not on point. I just think especially coming off what they were trying to do with the squash match, and like we've seen this happen before with, in WWE, but I'm not saying like as a comparison, but like, okay, the squash thing happens and then you can retell a match. But I agree with you. The storytelling once inside the ring, I don't think just matched up to what they were trying to do. And I agree with you. Brody King should have been in a different kind of role in this match. And I mean, quite frankly, I thought he should have won, but that's just me. But I saw what they did. I just think they missed the mark with it. Like, I agree with you. I think just booking him as a big man, they just didn't nail in this match.
Good, true. Sammy, anything to add?
Just trying to look at the whole show overall, going into it, we had a really strong card, and getting into the actual show, it looked really good. It presented really well. The crowd was really hot, but this was not the show that really kind of got rid of that bad taste in your mouth for these Australia trips for AEW. And that's unfortunate because they have really been on a roll. This isn't a complete derailment, not even close, but it's just these type of little bad behavior things that just keep creeping into the product. It's like, who was in charge? Did Tony not show up this day? Or did, did somebody have to stay home and couldn't make the trip over? Because it's just weird, because when you roll into Dynamite on Wednesday night, not exactly the same. Much totally better show. So
and I want to go to that for the positive of there's just trying to. I did not put a graphic for this because that's fine. We didn't need a graphic for it, but yeah, we go into Dynamite and we get the Dynamites we become accustomed to in the last 3-4 months. Right? Mm-hmm. It was another very good, if not great,
solid, good show. Yeah.
I would say great episode of Dynamite, including one of the best pieces of work they've done with having this amazing match between Kenny Omega and Swerve Strickland, and Swerve Strickland, who has been kind of teasing a heel turn into coming in the match throughout the match, then turns heel in an amazing way. So we go from like this, whatever show in Grand Slam, in my opinion, where it could have been a lot better, and we get this amazing heel turn amongst a great night of wrestling as a whole. But that heel turn is something that we're going to be talking about for a long time. First of all, I want to get both of your opinions on what did you think of the Swerve Strickland heel turn?
You want me to go first? I'll go first.
Sammy, go ahead.
I loved everything that happened. I truly did. I think it was an absolutely amazing way to do it. My only fear is that I have met Swerve Strickland. I have felt the aura. I just don't know if the crowd's going to accept it long term. But I think he works better. I think he works better as a heel. I think his promos are amazing as a heel. I think he's incredibly talented. I know he can do it, but we just live in this world where the audience is just going to do whatever it wants to do, and they may just cheer him anyway, which, it depends on how they move forward with it. But the way it laid out in the match, everything was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
And very true. I agree with you there, but we also live in a world where we know that's going to happen. So you just have to play your cards the way they're dealt.
You just got to go with it. Yeah.
And I feel like in the case of Swerve Strickland, he's talented enough that he's going to be able to pull it out. And once again, it will go to your point. It will go to the booking. If they're booking him against solid baby faces who people love, i.e. Kenny Omega, in that ilk, you're going to get easy heel heat for him. And he can get there. We know he can get there. So I do agree. I mean, as somebody who is known Swerve Strickland for a while, got to the pleasure of working with him when he was a very young man. He's one of the most humble, most deserving people you'll ever meet in real life. However, he has this gear and he's amazing at it, and he's grown into this amazing performer. He is the franchise. I've always said that. Yes, you're going to have people who are going to clap him regardless because he's the franchise. However, he's also good enough that I think he can get people to boo him, in my opinion. Your thoughts, Ken?
He's a cool heel. Like I say, he can do no wrong there. So like I say, I would love, he's going to be a monster heel, and I think he does his best work. And if anybody doesn't remember when him and Hangman Adam Page started their fight forever, that was some of the most heinous stuff going on between both during that feud.
Broke into the man's house and was looking at his baby.
Yeah, I mean, like, go through the archives. It's like I say, it's eye-opening. So if anybody thinks he can't do it with how over he is now, oh, trust me, he's going to do it. He's good, but he's the cool heel, and especially like in AEW, you don't really need to be, a heel or a face. The crowd just cheers for who they want to cheer for. So I think it doesn't impact it as much. But trust me, for storyline purposes, he's going to do some very, very wild stuff. I'm here for it. I'm invested, and I thought that match might have been the best televised match of the year thus far.
And I agree with you. And I also will say, to Sammy's point earlier, Swerve Strickland is so damn good at what he does that the storyline wise, it's not going to affect me because I will be able to put aside how cool he is for the storyline just because of how good he is at what he does. And he is a better heel.
Yes,
he truly is a better heel. Like he's and I'm not saying he can't be a babyface because obviously he can, but he's one of those. It's kind of like we talk about Cody Rhodes. It's weird that Cody Rhodes is QB1 because Cody Rhodes is a classic heel. Yeah, like a classic heel in every sense of the word. We do have a graphic for the next part because I do want to move on and unfortunately talk about some more salacious stuff, right? That's right. It was reported this past week by our good friend Sean Ross Sapp over at Fightful Select that Chris Jericho's contract has been frozen, and it's believed that the deal was frozen when he took time off from AEW programming. It is now being confirmed. Take this with a grain of salt, of course, because he's had a rough week. It's being confirmed by Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio by the exact quote, by the way, Ken. Heard things along those lines.
Oh, jeez.
The classic.
I don't know what Sean Ross Sapp.
Yeah. We heard it the same way we all heard it from Sean Ross Sapp. Our SRS is doing your job again. Thanks for coming, Uncle Dave. It was a rough week for Uncle Dave, though. It was a rough week for him. He got caught lying, covering for Tony Khan. He got caught the whole WMD stuff because, Warner Brothers, WBD, I said WMD, WBD, because Warner Brothers came right out and said, no, we didn't keep Brody King off of TV. And any cursory Google search would have told you that he was in Australia already doing promo work with MJF. Or they're out, doing TV and radio spots and all those wonderful promotional things you do, right? So that was always hilarious. And I mean, I know we talked about that briefly last week as a joke, tongue in cheek. We know that that's bullshit. But now this is less about Dave. Let's go to the real story. The real story at hand, SRS, Fightful Select, and now everybody else across the board, giving credit. Salute to our good friend SRS on this one, because it's being picked up by everybody. SI's picked it up. Vice has picked it up. It's being picked up across the board that it appears to be that Chris Jericho's contract was frozen, which means, and this is a new move for Tony Khan. Mm-hmm. Remember, Ray Phoenix's contract was frozen. Actually, a bunch of guys' contracts were frozen before leaving.
There's some right now that are frozen.
There's some that are just not at home. So here's my thing. Let's. I want to break it down and I want to talk about it, but here's how I'm going to put it. I get from one aspect, knowing that Chris Jericho is more than likely going to return to World Wrestling Entertainment to finish up his run, go into the Hall of Fame, whatever the hell. We kind of know. I get from one aspect not wanting to give over somebody like that there. However, what is the value of keeping Chris Jericho on your roster besides just being salty? Because hear me out before I turn it over to you. Chris Jericho has been criticized by us and fans as a whole because he is the one thing that, like you go, one of these things is not like the other. And granted, one of the greatest of all time. He is definitely first ballot Hall of Famer, definitely has a legacy. We're not saying that he doesn't. But what do AEW fans and people like us, talking heads in general, always go back to? He's older now. He's out of shape. He should probably put his shirt back on. Granted, he is Ken M's mom's favorite wrestler. I can say that safely because she's not within earshot. But at the same point in juncture, he's been nothing but criticized. He is not adding value to AEW television. Why would you sack time from Swerve or Hangman or Kenny or MJF or Brody King at this point in juncture, or the fact that we're going to get the return of Will Ospreay sooner than later because now we're starting to do promos about the return of Will Ospreay, right?
Yeah.
Even somebody that I've been critical of, like the protostar, Kyle Fletcher, deserves TV time, right? Why are we going to waste TV time? Just let him go. He's not going to go over to WWE and light the world on fire. I think we're past those days. He's literally going to go over, take a victory lap, maybe have a few matches, and go in the Hall of Fame. That's it. I don't think it hurts anybody. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll start with you, Ken, on this one. What are your thoughts on Chris Jericho's contract being frozen? Should this be a thing or not?
I mean, honestly, this has happened in the past. We think about Ray Phoenix. We think about, when Kenny Omega allegedly was involved in that with the time added on. It's a business practice. So like I say, I understand what's happening there, but I agree with you. If somebody doesn't want to be there and it's not adding value to your company, you should let them go. But if they want to do what they want to do, that's they're completely entitled to.
Before I turn it over to Sammy, I do want to say it, and it's not a rebuttal. It's just, I understand adding time to Kenny Omega and kind of getting him almost a strong arming him in back to signing, right? I understand adding time to Ray Phoenix to keep the Lucha Bros off TV to get that instant pop for them. I understand that because they can still go. Mm-hmm. They can still, whatever. This is a whole different case. There was a time when we said the WWE was keeping people hostage and everybody was up in arms. Why isn't, I mean, I guess more people are up in arms now than in the past, right? But why aren't there more people up in arms? Like, just let him go. There makes no sense. Sammy, your thoughts?
I think less people are up in arms about it just because of Jericho's position in wrestling right now, where say he does return to AEW, right? He doesn't really, it's not that he doesn't deserve TV time, but even if you do want to give him TV time, with who? He's worked with everyone on that roster. That roster we talk about that AEW roster and how Tony Khan likes to bring in new talent all the time, but realistically, if you bring back Chris Jericho, you're paying him a lot of money, and he is a brand name, you got to work him with someone of a name. He's worked with everyone on that roster already, so there's nothing for him to do there anymore.
Agreed. I agree.
Let him go back to WWE. Well, we talked about this at length. Like, WWE could use someone to come in to be in that main event for like 6 months, and Jericho would fill that role well, and then he can go off into the sunset, because right now they're kind of hurting for main eventers. Do I think he's a credible main eventer that you could put a belt on? No, but you could put him in a program with someone in that top level of the card now. And because really, if he came back for 6 months, how many singles matches is he going to work? 2, 3? You can get away with 2 or 3 matches in a 6-month period, and then Gunther can retire him, and then we're all set. Well, I have to give AEW credit though, because they're being consistent. They are being consistent, yeah. And maybe that's the NFL style of things where they have, because when AEW was founded, obviously Tony Khan's huge background was in football and the NFL. Naturally, a lot of that type of mindset and practices are going to be brought into AEW. So whereas WWE, they've kind of created their own system of dealing with contracts and legality or whatever, and AEW's been consistent with it. And that's probably coming from that pure sports-minded background. Do I agree with it? No. If someone doesn't want to be there, let him go. In the case of Chris Jericho, he's a big ticket, high-priced line item on the budget, and there's nothing for him to do there anymore. Unless Jericho really wants to come back. I mean, that's all of this is, maybe he does want to come back, have his retirement run there, and then settle into some sort of a producer type role there. Maybe that's what he wants to do.
But if that's the case, you don't have to freeze his contract. So like that's the kind of the weird thing. The term of freezing someone's contract is to stop them from potentially leaving. Like, if you think that they're going to stay in the house, you don't have to worry about, potentially stopping.
Well, he's on tour. Could it be a legality thing? Maybe. I mean, none of us are lawyers.
Possibly.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. It's a tough one. You're running into some tough areas there, for sure.
Padawan J has chimed in. Whatever Jericho does, it won't be done until after May 16th. I just looked, and that's the last day of FLZ's tour in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm assuming the same thing. It is. Yeah. By the end of the day, I still think it's a kind of a bad luck right now for AEW, who's firing on all cylinders, because you don't really technically need one Christopher Jericho. Mm-hmm. You could just say, it is what it is, and be done with it. And like I said, and the only thing I will say is I don't think that WWE needs him as a main event guy, because to your point, they have tons of main event guys if they just want them to lose. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if you're just talking about losing, you can plug anybody into that main event picture right now. LA Knight could be in that main event picture tomorrow. The problem is they don't have a main event picture where anybody could win.
Yeah.
That's the problem. The problem is Finn Balor is in the main event picture and he should be able to win, but technically, they're not going to let him win. And if he does, he's going to drop it back quickly because they're never going to sacrifice Roman versus CM Punk as the night 2 main event. So it's kind of a waste of time. So to your point, I don't think it's a lack of main eventers. It's a lack of main eventers we can believe can win. Because I think that's their lack. Because once again,
that's fair, that's fair. But on the WWE side, the Jey Uso experiment didn't work. Roman Reigns is part-time. Nobody cares about Brock. Cena's gone. AJ Styles is gone. Seth is out. Braun Breaker, who was the next big thing type deal, he's out. They're a little hurting in the main event scene for people that are credible, because then you plug a Finn Balor in there who's eaten pinfalls for the last 3 years. And LA Knight, they don't seem to want to consistently put him in the main event. So that's how you end up with Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, just back and forth, back and forth.
But Finn Balor's the kind of guy that you don't have, that he only has to win once. He can take pinfalls from now until the year 2050. And if he wins once, it's believable. It doesn't matter. It's at the end of the day, he could still win. He could win the championship at Elimination Chamber, and it would shock people. But my fear is if you do that, you're just doing it for the shock of that to just give the belt back, because we know that that's not a strong enough main event for night 2. That's the problem. And I don't think it's the main event problem, because literally you can plug in Sami Zayn's a main eventer. Cody, obviously I bet Cody Rhodes is the main eventer. Drew McIntyre is your champion, so he's a main eventer. You get into Bronson Reed can be a main eventer, and they do push him as such. LA Knight, main eventer. There's a lot of guys that are main eventers. The problem isn't that they're main eventers. The problem is we don't believe that they're going to win.
Right.
And that's the issue, because then what do I get behind? I can't get behind the guy that's not going to win. And that's at the end of the day. Gunther's a main eventer. I know we just didn't bring him up, but he's a big time main eventer, and I can believe he can win. That's why he's not getting shots right now, because you're not going to give the man a shot until he can win.
Yeah.
Which once again gives a real problem. I think that's their problem. Their spoils of riches is the problem, and their lack of creativity is a problem. Creatively bankrupt and the spoils of riches is the biggest issue in WWE, in my opinion. Because you could have any of those guys I just listed be champion tomorrow, and nobody would bat an eye. Nobody would even take 2 seconds. Hell, you could make Trick Williams the champion tomorrow, and we'd get the massive whoop that Trick chant you'd ever see.
Yep.
Problem is, what do you do after? And they haven't. The creative bankruptcy has not allowed us to see what you do after. Hell, I can make an argument for Ilya Dragunov being world champion. I can make an argument for Melo being world champion.
I mean, that's the thing. You have such a deep roster, but the thing is, where do you go from there? And that's the problem that they have right now, and they have not fixed it, in my opinion.
No.
And I think
absolutely not.
Chad, Super Chad, you can definitely throw your comments in about that. But that's the situation that they have to deal with. And I mean, we'll talk about it a little later on the road to WrestleMania, but this is a problem they need to address sooner than later.
Oh, absolutely. That's definitely for the time, Tom. We got one more here we go again. So the internet has got some safety concerns after a spot on Dynamite this week. Megan Bain took a pretty hellacious bump on the neck, and instant jerk. We didn't put up the actual footage, of course, but instant knee-jerk reaction for some thought that she may have broken her neck right away. Thankfully, that's not the case. But it feels like we go talk about this a lot. When is enough? When are you not going to be like, hey, this is Dynamite. We don't necessarily have to, unalive ourselves for the TV show. Save the big spots for the pay-per-view, save the big spots for the big moments. You're not fighting from underneath that you need to pull it all out. And we've talked about this in the past, obviously with Darby Allin. When is this finally going to bite them in the ass? Go ahead, Sammy.
This has been something since day one. We all remember, if you've been an AEW fan since the beginning, the Jim Ross comments right from the get-go. I mean, it's nothing new. It's the style of wrestling they like. That's how you end up with Brody King and MJF, because they don't know how to book other styles of wrestling or big men in wrestling. So it's unfortunate. We don't want to ever see anyone get injured, especially getting injured on a nothing match on Wednesday Night Dynamite or Monday Night Raw or whatever. Not to say that you want to see someone get injured in a pay-per-view match either. You don't want to see anyone get injured ever, but there's just no reason for it. There's just no reason for unnecessary spots. You got to... there are other ways to get your stuff in and to get over in wrestling, and going out there and trying to do all the flashy stuff isn't always the best path.
And to your point, Sam, you're absolutely right. I'm not saying, oh, you should get injured on a pay-per-view. Absolutely not. But if you're going to take the big risks, at least when the brightest lights are on, that's when you take the big risk. You take the big risk at All In. You take the big risk at WrestleMania. Why? Because that is when all eyes are on you and it can make or break a career. And I'm not saying that means you should get you hurt, because please don't. But that, when Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, 19 did the shooting star press and almost broke his neck. Was it dumb? Absolutely. But he hit that move a million times in OVW. And was it dumb to do there? Yes, it was. But it was at least at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Like it made the highlight reels but it made the highlight reels forever because it was at WrestleMania. When you do something on Dynamite, and I hate to say this, and this is not even Dynamite. Let's go focus on WWE. Other than like the brief things when they're saying don't try this at home, what do we remember about the late great Darren Drozdov? We don't remember that moment. That moment that the freak accident happened that paralyzed him. We don't remember that moment. Nobody ever talks about that moment. And it's not because it's hidden. It's because it's unmemorable, because it happened in a match on television that nobody cared about. Big E. We love Big E. And unfortunately, his career's come to an end on a fluke outside of the ring. But we don't talk about it anymore, other than the fact that, oh man, I wish he could wrestle. And the reason why is because it happened on television. And those were accidents. Those were like ones that weren't, egregious, like crazy moves. It does make a difference. And I'm not saying that I want these guys doing, and gals, because obviously in this case with girls, doing these horrible things, but pick your spots if you're going to do it, is all I'm saying.
I mean, the thing that we always say is you have to be safe with your body in the ring, especially as performers. And I understand this. We always call it the super indie style. You're going to get a crowd pop, but is it really worth it for the long term? I mean, you remember when William Regal was talking about taking the bumps on the apron and saying about how much damage that does, and then to see the reactions of it. Everybody just has to be smart about what you're doing in there. But I do agree, like, to go that hardcore on a regular weekly show, is it really worth that kind of risk when you can still tell that same story? But then if you really want that moment, everybody always talks about the pay-per-views. Nobody mentions about a Monday Night Raw specifically, or an AEW Dynamite specifically. You think about, like you touched upon, it's when the most eyes are on your performance is always at the PLEs, WrestleManias, Wrestle Kingdoms, All-Ins, All-Outs. That's where everybody's watching. So if you're going to try giving that memory, that's why you do it at those shows. To take the risk like that, I applaud the effort, but I just think it's across the board, not just saying AEW. You have to be smart about what you're doing and when you're doing it, and really kind of think of the story that you're trying to tell inside the squared circle.
And like I said, we can acknowledge that it's not competitive chess. Injuries are going to happen. And, I understand some person that knows me could say that it's hypocritical because I watch deathmatch wrestling as well, but once again, you know what you signed up for. That's a whole nother beast. That's a whole nother kit and caboodle that we could really dive into, but you know what you signed up for. That's a special individual. Wax, you know what I mean?
Well, even that though, it's a completely different thing at times, because deathmatch wrestling can involve a lot of different kind of spots that are safe in terms of the actual move that they're doing, what they're landing on, and this and that can be a little suspect. But you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, yeah.
True. But like I said, we're also talking about, apples to oranges. Like taking a move in a ring as opposed to doing something for that. You know what you signed up for. You know what I mean? Like, that's not being, that's not saying that the person in the ring doesn't know that they signed up to possibly be injured, but come on, you got to be smart with that bump card. Everybody has the bump card.
Exactly.
And if you're taking unneeded or, dangers when you're young, you're going to sacrifice that career later on. And that's never a good thing. Especially now when you can wrestle into your 40s and 50s and actually wrestle at a high level. I mean, Randy Orton proves that. I mean, CM Punk proves that. You can wrestle at a high level, even in your mid 40s and on. I mean, before AJ Styles retired, AJ Styles is a perfect example of that as well. So let's switch gears. let's talk about TNA Wrestling, because TNA Wrestling had a show this past weekend, one of their PLEs. Yes, they have PLEs and pay-per-views. This is one of those wonderful ones that was on TNA Plus. And of course, it was TNA Presents No Surrender 2026 from the Pinnacle in Nashville, Tennessee. Let's do the card rundown real quick, and then we'll get some thoughts on it. This match had 10 matches. 2 were on the pre-show. Tag team match. Sinner and Saint would defeat Brad Attitude in TW3 in 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Then Frankie Kazarian would defeat Alan Angels. That's right. Alan Angels making a comeback here. 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So squash match. Then we kick off the show. The opening was the Knockouts Battle Royal for a future shot at the TNA Knockouts World Championship. And just when it looked like Tessa Blanchard was going to take the match, Jody Threat comes out on top. So Jody Threat is now earned a future shot at the TNA Knockouts World Championship. Next up, in a singles match for the TNA International Championship, your champion representing NXT, Channing Stacks Lorenzo with Ariana Grace in his corner. And he was taking on the man who won Feast or Fired for the international title match, the returning Trey Miguel, who had Teddy Swims in his corner. I was kind of pumped for Teddy Swims.
That was wild.
Just want to throw that out there. This match got 10 minutes and 57 seconds, and at the end of the day, your winner and your new TNA International Champion, Trey Miguel. Next up on the list, we have our good friend, we love him, the old Mancer, the Southern psychopath, Mance Warner, with his wife, Steph DeLander, in his corner, would defeat our hero, Action Mike Jackson. 5 minutes and 22 seconds. By the way, Action Mike Jackson officially became the oldest man to wrestle on a pay-per-view. 76 years young. You got to love Action Mike Jackson. For those of you who don't know, you just got to look up him, man. I love him. I love him. I love him to this day. Next up, the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championships were on the line as the Elegance brand, your champions, Heather by Elegance and M by Elegance, with Ash by Elegance and Mr. Elegance and the personal concierge in their corner. Good Lord, is there enough people at the ringside? Would take on Indy Hartwell and Zaya Brookside. This match got 11 minutes, 10 seconds. At the end of the day, the Elegance brand would retain the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team Championships. Then we would have Eric Young defeat BDE in 10 minutes and 59 seconds. And then in the TNA Knockouts World Championship match, your champion, La Ying Lee, would take on NXT's Ariana Grace. This match would get 13 minutes and 25 seconds. And at the end of the day, your winner and the new TNA Knockouts World Champion, Ariana Grace. Didn't have that on my bingo card. 8-man tag team extravaganza was up next as Order 4, Mustafa Ali, Jason Hotch, John Schuyler, and Special Agent Zero would defeat the Hardys, Jeff and Matt Hardy, and the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch, in 14 minutes and 52 seconds. And last but not least, in the main event of the evening, it was a tag team extravaganza as the team of Mike Santana, your TNA World Heavyweight Champion, and the TNA X Division Champion, Leon Slater, would defeat Nick Nemeth and diehard Eddie Edwards in 23 minutes and 19 seconds. Overall, good card. I'll start with you, Ken. Thoughts on No Surrender?
TNA always puts on great PLEs, and if you haven't checked them out, you need to. Ariana Grace winning did not have that on my bingo card, but I'm very happy to see her and whatever is going on with that group. I don't know if we have an official name yet. They're coming over from NXT. But listen, I'm liking what they're doing. Action Mike Jackson, what can you say? 76 years old and still crushing it in the ring. Like I say, solid card top to bottom. It's TNA. Definitely check it out.
See, listen, that's why your bump card is important, because you can be like Action Mike Jackson. Sammy, your thoughts on No Surrender?
After kind of a rough start to, like tripping over your feet start to the year for TNA, they're definitely turning things around. And this was a good example of it. This was a very solid show. I do recommend people go back and watch some of this. You don't necessarily need to watch all of it. The story moves on with TNA having their next show tonight after us. But, there's some good stuff here. And I do recommend people go back and at least watch parts of it.
Awesome. All right, so now it's that time. We are going to talk about the road to WrestleMania real quickly, because we got a road and it's going to WrestleMania. Enough reason. There's a lot of roads. There's a ton of roads. So here we go. we got a lot going on. There's a lot going on. We got the Elimination Chamber is starting to really shape up. So we're going to find out who's going to be taking on Drew McIntyre for the undisputed WWE World Championship. Also, we're going to be finding out who takes on one of the women's champions because we still have not gotten the clear cut as of right now. However, that's the big news of this week. Monday Night Raw. We had a sit-down interview. I always love these, by the way.
Yeah,
Michael Cole.
Very well done.
Sitting down with the winner of the 2026 Women's Royal Rumble, Liv Morgan. Of course, her dirty boyfriend, Dirty Dominic Mysterio, would be sitting in on this and interrupting the interview quite quickly. The WWE Women's World Champion, that's right, Stephanie Vakir, La Primera. Thoughts? Like, this was a hell of a promo, and I first of all, kudos to them for letting her cut it all in Spanish. But your thoughts? I'll start with you, Sammy. What are your thoughts? And here's another extra question. On top of your thoughts of just the promo, is this the move? Are we all right? Because I know we all were saying this before. It should be Liv and Stephanie as the main event of night one, right? Correct?
Yeah, 100% correct. And I think this is something that needed to happen because it was very easy for Stephanie to get lost in the sauce. You know, Liv Morgan out with a big injury, comes back, wins the Rumble. She's already a very likable heel character. So you can kind of, ride that out all the way to WrestleMania, and Stephanie just gets lost in the sauce. So I think this was important. It was very critical to put her in an environment where she could go out there and really shine, which, in a taped interview type environment, I think was perfect. And brought a lot more into this match because now we're seeing the other side of it. We knew where Liv was at, so now we're seeing the other side. This was needed, and this definitely sets them up for a night one main event, in my opinion, because we got nothing else.
Good.
Echoing what Sammy said, this was absolutely needed, and this was the right call to do. It got the fan base talking. It really sparked some interest in seeing this match, and not that we didn't know these two are going to crush it, but this is now that little extra momentum that they needed to really catapult them to the main event spot for night one. This should be the main event for night one, and I am super excited to see where this is going from here.
Both played their cards very well. I thought this was a great segment. I really, really, really thought we were getting some really good stuff there. And this makes the argument even stronger. I mean, you're getting a lot of emotion. You're getting a lot of there. There was a little bit of backlash, mostly caused, because of and I thought that I was classy of Stephanie Vakir to make an apology, but I really don't think that it was egregious. If you didn't know, part of her translating it, part of her promo, she said, "I was born in Chile, where wrestling doesn't exist, and still traveled the world, Japan, Mexico, Latin America, Europe, conquering everything." And she would go on, to say if Liv Morgan challenged her at WrestleMania, she would lose. And of course, some people took offense to what she said about, wrestling not existing in Chile. And I don't think that that's the case. I mean, she did say, but she made a mistake, and she said wrestling doesn't exist. She just was saying that at the time she was emigrating out of Chile to wrestle around the world, where the wrestling scene was not where it is today in Chile. And I just think people are just picking nuts. I don't understand why people need to nitpick apart, somebody who's cutting a passionate promo. What do we have to fact check every, every passionate promo? You're going to say something when you're fired up, right? I think that was the only kind of
internet.
I know it's too bad.
She's she kind of lived there. She might know a little better than people on the internet up here in the States or wherever kind of mom's basement they're living in. Like, come on.
Yeah, but to be fair, it was Chilean wrestlers who kind of took umbrance to it. And to be fair, though, you're talking about a different time. Yes, I understand Stephanie Vakir is very young, but she also started very young and has been traveling the world very young. She was in Japan and Mexico when she was under 18. So, like, you have to remember, just because the wrestling scene, 10 years after she started or whatever it was, is where it is now. It wasn't possibly there. And she wasn't saying there was no other Chilean wrestlers ever, because there was, but a lot of them had to go to Mexico to wrestle, in other countries, because there's a bigger scene if you wanted to make it. You know what I mean? Right. There's one thing to wrestle for a small company. There's another thing to wrestle for a large company.
Well, and then there's also the added dynamic of women's wrestling. It is still a very much a growing industry. Who knows what kind of scene there was for women's wrestling in Chile, 10,
Right.
15, 20 years ago.
Oh, 125% there, because if you think about it, and I'm not saying that there isn't, I don't want to be taken out of context here and say, oh, there's no great Chilean female wrestlers other than Stephanie Fakir. But like, just knowing from here in the States, when we booked indie shows, even 10 years ago, you didn't always have two women on the card because you didn't always have two women to wrestle, and that was when the women's revolution of indie women's wrestling was making a buzz, was that 10 years ago mark. Well, even a little bit before then, we had some dynamic women wrestle for 2CW over the years, but there was times where, you had to have them wrestle a man, quite frankly, because you didn't have anybody. Intergender wrestling was not born out of, some kind of weird fetish or something. It was born out of necessity, because if you wanted to get, talented female athletes on the show, sometimes they had to wrestle the opposite sex because you just didn't have another talented female wrestler. And so that was in the States, where there was at least a wrestling scene. I mean, I'm talking about a company when I worked, where we had all women's shows. We had an all women's show once a year.
Yeah.
But that show wasn't always the easiest to book. I can tell you that right now, because there was, on that top tier of female athletes at the time in wrestling, there was such high demand on them to be elsewhere that it was hard to get them all on one show. And I'm talking about the days, and this is even before that. We're talking about like 2008, 2009. We're talking Sarah Del Rey, who's done an amazing job as a trainer down in NXT, or sorry, not NXT, the Performance Center. We're talking, the original incarnation of one Sasha Banks / Mercedes Moné. That's when she was wrestling as Lexus. We're talking about, I remember having people come through like Portia Perez, Lacey, Veda Scott, throwing Veda Scott out there. There's so many lists. The list goes on. Shayna Baszler, when she was first breaking in out of MMA into it. So there's a lot of talented women, and I know I'm going to forget a ton more. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, you couldn't always get a lot on the show, and that's why I'm saying. So I could only imagine possibly what the scene was like 10 years ago in Chile, because I don't know the thriving. Maybe it is thriving. I don't know. But she's definitely great. I hope it is now too. And she's a great ambassador for it. So why butcher the ambassador?
Yeah.
Because her success means that only more eyes are going to be on your product, because, hey, if she's that damn good, maybe there's other people that are that damn good. That's how I look at it. That's just personally me as somebody's book shows. All right. We're coming to the fun part of the show, ladies and gentlemen. And this past Monday night on Raw, we got a box. I feel like we've transported back in time to the late 1970s, early 1980s in Memphis, Tennessee. As it says on that box, do not open until 2/28/26, I do believe, right?
Correct.
That, of course, is the night of WWE Elimination Chamber. But it's 2026. And before we talk about what we're going to be talking about here, because I haven't even said my line for that, it's 2026. Do we really think that the box works in 2026? We'll start with you, Sammy. Not what's in the box yet. What do you think that the gimmick of the box itself works?
First off, the box looks like it's from 1970 something. Like, what is that all about? I think they literally wheeled it out of storage and was like, yeah, this one's fine. It looks ancient. Maybe if the box was like the size of like a luggage and it's some sort of a new title or something, you could do that. But you have a full-size box. It clearly implies there's going to be a person in it. And no, this does not work.
Get him.
It absolutely works. It absolutely does. For the simple fact, I mean, it's pro wrestling. It's cheesy. It gives a lot of speculation. I mean, it's there.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
There's two people right now on the planet that think that this works, and that's you and Jim Cornette. And
What's in the box? What's in the box?
That's where I was getting. Hey, you already stole my line, because now we're going to have fun, because this became our editorial piece, because I'm not going to sit here and pontificate on the box, because God, who cares, right? However, the good question is, what's in the box? And so we'll start with you, Miss Sammy, because ladies first. And mind you, you can get like I want to challenge everybody to this, because we want to have some fun here. And in chat, we want you to have some fun. So I want to challenge you to this. give me who you seriously think is in the box, and then just give me something real fun, because let's have some fun with it. So, Sammy, you get to go first.
All right, who I honestly think is in the box is Chelsea
Who is
Green.
in the box? Chelsea Green?
Chelsea Green. Finding
I mean,
some way to get
sense
involved into the Elimination Chamber match. Yeah. Who I want it to be, who would be the most fun, and maybe the only person that could make this work, Danhausen.
No, good stuff. Good stuff. Not too ridiculous neither. That's good. Get him.
Maybe it's the door to the Elimination Chamber and they forgot to ship it. So I have to open it up. So thus it would make sense for it to be there. Has anybody thought about that? No. So I'm using logic. If I have to guess, I'm going to say Evil.
Evil. Of course, he is rumored to be coming to WWE. That's rumored. There's a rumor there. Oh, man, this is such a, here's the thing. You could go big or go home. And I like both of your picks. Evil would be a good pick because that'd be a good. Even though I don't like the box in 2026, it would be a big moment to debut somebody, right?
Yeah.
And I love Sammy's idea of Chelsea Green because the ridiculousness of the idea alone, and just having it in the chamber, and she just comes out of it, at some point in juncture. Is pure comedy gold, and I believe that would be something that Chelsea Green could sink her teeth in. So I would love to see that. I would also love, for personal reasons, to see Danhausen come out of that box.
Danhausen would be amazing,
but I don't think it is Danhausen. But it would be fun. Early front runners. If you're a betting man or a betting gal, is probably the Gobbledygooker, Hornswoggle.
High on the list.
They seem to go Hornswoggle whenever they have these situations that they can't get out. You never know. I've heard them. Mr. Anderson is the new Juggalo Championship Wrestling champion, so maybe, you never know. Vince Russo. Sounds like a bad Vince Russo idea, and I know he's been booking JCW, so, you never know. So I've also said some controversial things, maybe the return of Katie Vick. If it was May 16th, it could even be, Mayor of Knoxville County, Kane. But it's not. So my real fun, my real pick is, I think the Masked Man is gearing up to be Seth Rollins whenever he's returning. I understand that the person under that mask is different every time, let's be honest, but obviously Seth Rollins can't be doing run-ins right now. So I think that takes Seth Rollins off the board. I think because of the frozen contract, that takes Jericho off the board. So we're 0 for 2 on the two biggest names that I think that you could be. Braun Breaker is still too newly out to be coming back, so I don't think it's him. That leaves us hard. I do like the Evil pick. That would be a good spot. Like I said, both of you guys had some great picks. I'm gonna say that my pick is going to be Raheem. Cody Rhodes in his Raheem gimmick. He's shipping in
the Rock.
Ooh, that'd be
just
fun.
Just another ruining thing from the Rock.
But if they were smart, hear me out. They'd open it up. It'd be nothing but packing peanuts in the anonymous Raw general manager computer.
Oh God.
Oh wait, I have an idea. This is what it is. It's the Ark of the Covenant. Hear me out. So they wheel it out, and then the Rock comes and he takes it out of the box, and he opens it with Cody Rhodes, and that sucks in Cody Rhodes' soul.
Ooh, that's a good idea. That's a
and
good
then
one.
Cody Rhodes goes heel, and then they finally pay that off way too late.
It could be Travis Scott.
Ooh,
that's true.
Travis Scott, maybe it's Bad Bunny.
See, that could work. It could be Bad Bunny. I don't know why
that was more of a
he could get a VIP ticket or something,
I mean, I think the only thing we'd have to kind of consider is, would this mean this is the final contestant for the Elimination Chamber?
I don't know.
No,
they're being so vague about it.
Yeah, like you don't, like I say,
there's not enough information for everybody to really actually give a real opinion. Like, it's just there and there. I think, once again, when you talk about creatively bankrupt, WWE's been creatively bankrupt for a while, and somebody was like, well, why don't we just use a box? I don't know who said it. I don't know if Jim Cornette's back on the writing team, but that's
that's a better question. So we're filming Unreal season 3. So when this conversation comes up,
it's going to have its own issues. Own episode. It's gonna have its own episode.
It's gonna have its own spin-off series. What's in the box? So
You know what?
Who at the table put this together? Let's be honest. Let's put a betting pool together.
We're all wrong. We all thought that John Cena retired. You're gonna open it up.
We can't see him.
Invisible Cena didn't retire.
They just act like he's invisible, just running through.
What if it's the Sandman's opponent for Joey Janela Spring Break, the Invisible Man?
That is true. Wow, that'd be a heck of a cross promotion. Already started hyping up Spring Break.
I'm just saying.
Could it be Joe Hendry?
Ooh, that's a good. Well, for comedy purposes, a good one. Like, I feel like you either have to go I'm like going back to the serious. I feel like you either have to go the comedy route with somebody like a Joe Hendry or a Chelsea Green, or it's got to be so big of a debut that it even though it's cheesy, it'll actually make a little bit of sense. If it's anything in between, I think we're screwed.
It can't be Joe Hendry because he's on NXT right now. Had he not debuted, and then they just unveiled him on the main roster, then I'd say it would be him.
It could be Finn Balor, preemptively already.
No, it's the demon. It's the demon. That's
the demon. Finn Balor.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's the demon. Yeah, so he can get another.
He already knows he's losing his match to CM Punk, so he's just entering the chamber just for S's and gigs, right? Yeah, who knows? Oh my Lord! Once again, it's endless, right? You could have so much fun with this. Maybe it's just maybe it's the hand. It's the return of the hand.
Is it the next person to be the top guy in the Vision? Because we've lost two people in the Vision, so now Bronson Reed's ascended to that top spot in the Vision. You just keep plugging him in. So
he's still the enforcer.
Well, when he goes, all right. Here's a good question. Moving beyond the box. So when Bronson Reed gets hurt, please don't get hurt, Bronson Reed. We do like you, but when he gets hurt,
don't put that karma out there.
So, but who is it then? Is it Logan Paul or is it Austin Theory that ascends to the top spot in the Vision?
I think it's just a snake bit. It should have been a better. That group has just been snake bit. You had the idea of basically a new age evolution, and then Seth Rollins gets hurt, so they have to rewrite stuff in the fly. So they kind of implode it before it can, and then you have Braun Breaker looking like he's going to be the next big thing, and boom, he gets hurt. Yeah, you're kind of screwed.
You had Austin Theory along the way for no reason, apparently.
You needed an extra body, okay? And Austin Theory wasn't doing much. To be honest with you, it's been good for his career because, I find him more entertaining now than I did before.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there. But, yeah, I don't know.
A lot of speculation.
This is a lot. We'll find out on the 20th. And actually, we'll be probably talking about it again next week because next week on this show, we will be previewing WWE Elimination Chamber because that'll be coming up the following Saturday, and we'll be talking about all the other great news. And you know how you can make sure you're locked in for that? It's simple. You can just make sure you smash that subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications, and hit the thumbs up so you can help the algorithm here on the Fanlight Zone YouTube channel. You can also watch the live stuff like Wrestling Night Live every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on X and Twitch as well. And of course, make sure you're visiting fanlightzone.com in between to see all the other great stuff that we got going on. With that being said, though, until next week when we talk more pro wrestling, including previewing Elimination Chamber, for myself, for Miss Sammy, for the EIC, Ken M, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and most importantly, later, wrestling fans.